I'll cool. I will start by doing some introductions. Welcome. Hi, it's great to have you. I'm Jillian Bellavery. I am the director of the Masters in Astrophysics program at the CUNY Graduate Center. I'm also faculty at Queensborough Community College, which is another CUNY school. And I am going to spend some time talking to you all today about the program. And let me introduce the rest of my team. So Charles Liu is here. Charles, I was already talking just a moment ago. So there he is. Allie, I saw you on. Allie, are you here? You want to say hi?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. I cannot answer any questions about football, but if you were talking about football, that's the extent I'll say about that. But great to see you all here. Really exciting.
Yeah, so Allie and Charles are also professors affiliated with the program. And then Emily December is our assistant. Emily, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
There's Emily, and then we also have Theo Edwards here. Theo is a current student in the program. Theo, you want to say hi?
Yeah, it's nice to see everybody.
So that is who's around. So welcome to folks, and thanks everyone on the team for being around here. So I'm going to give kind of a presentation for, I don't know, 10 or 20 minutes or so. And then there'll be time for everyone in the open house to ask any questions. You can also just type stuff in the chat, and Emily's going to work on answering that. I can't see the chat, but someone is looking at the chat. And so if you have questions and you want to just put them in the chat, that's fine. And if we don't get to them during the presentation, we can get to them afterwards. So that is how it's going to go. So I guess I will begin. Our website looks like this, gc.cuny.edu/astrophysics. And the email address that is the easiest way for you to reach our program is astrophysics@gc.cuny.edu. It's quite likely many of you have already used this email address to contact somebody. So that's cool. But that's a great way to get a hold of us. And so for information and contact, right there on that slide is where you go. So let's talk about the program. Well, how do I make it go? There we go. Okay. First of all, we have a couple limitations this cycle. We are still not able to accept international applications, and this is a legal problem. It's because we are not allowed to issue visas. And so we have submitted paperwork to the state to change this. And so we think this will be different next year, but apparently it takes the state something like 9 months to do the approval. And I submitted the forms 3-ish months ago. And so we think that by next year, we'll be able to sponsor visas. And so if you need a visa, you are not eligible to apply. And I'm really sorry. And I think next year that will change. If you are international but do not need a visa, as if maybe you're an undocumented student or something like that, you are eligible. Or if you have a, I don't know, green card or permanent residency or whatnot. If you don't need a visa, you can apply. But otherwise you are not eligible. And the other thing, we don't do any spring applications. So there's no application cycle this spring, like for starting in spring. So you can't like join the program in the spring. We only have people join the program in the fall because we really want to have a strong cohort, and we have a 2-week boot camp in the beginning up before everything starts. And we really want just to have everybody have a good community. So we only do intakes in the fall semester. So that's some boring bureaucratic stuff. And we got that out of the way. So now let's talk about the program. Okay, so some key takeaways from this open house is the website has a whole bunch of information on it. So, and if there's any updates in terms of deadlines or whatever, that'll be posted there. We will also post a recording of this open house there. And so if you want to go back and revisit it, you are welcome to do that as soon as we post the recording. Our program is designed to be for students of all backgrounds. So whether you grew up on a farm in California, or whether you had a first career as an elementary school teacher, or any other, if you're writing sci-fi novels, but like you want a master's degree in astrophysics, like this program can be for you. I just described 3 of our students actually. And so like I know all those people, they're here. So so if you have a non-traditional path, but really want to aim for a degree in astrophysics, this is a good program for you to aim for because we want you. We are aiming for people like you. The program has 2 primary goals. So primary program goal, one of them is to prepare students for success in a future PhD program via research experiences, coursework, and community. Primary program goal other is to provide students with valuable and immediately marketable advanced degree for STEM employment. So we want to support people with whatever dreams they have. If that dream is to get a PhD, and this is a good step along the way, then we are here to support you in that. If that dream is to move yourself up the economic ladder and get an awesome STEM job that this program can help you with, then we want to support you with that too. And those are all, like all paths are valid. We don't push people into PhD programs. We don't say that PhDs are better or worse than anything else. We do say that you should only get a PhD if you really want one, because that is always true. So if that's a thing you want, we'll help you. If that's not a thing you want, we will also help you. And not everyone knows if they want a PhD, and that's also okay. Like, it's a big deal and a big investment. And if you don't know if you want it, that's super normal. So, regardless, students get full PhD level funding thanks to the Simons Foundation. Our program is fully funded. Students get tuition and stipend and a whole bunch of other things, which I'll go into more detail in one of the next slides. All right, so to describe the program a little bit more, the CUNY Graduate Center, where our program is housed, is basically across the street from the Empire State Building, which is pretty awesome. Professors from the program are drawn from colleges throughout CUNY. And so on this map in the blue squares are all of the CUNY colleges in New York City. And as you can see, they are really all over the place. The CUNY Graduate Center, if you can see my mouse, I hope it is here in Midtown Manhattan. The Empire State Building is also in this box because of the resolution of the map. My home college is way over here. Charles works at this one, and Allie works at this one. So we're all kind of all over the place. But we all come together in this CUNY Astro community, and our students are part of that as well. Research faculty are also drawn from research institutions throughout New York City, especially the Flatiron Institute Center for Computational Astrophysics. And so the Flatiron Institute is about 10 blocks away from the Graduate Center, and it's a place where a lot of students have faculty mentors, and they also hang out there. Theo is there right now, actually, and I was there earlier today. And I see Allie there regularly. So we're all around there. The Flatiron Institute is also funded by the Simons Foundation, and it's kind of an amazing astronomy think tank for theoretical astrophysics. So a lot of our both research advisors, our other mentors, and our course instructors come from the Flatiron Institute. All right. So if you come, what will your degree path look like? Well, for one thing, you have to take courses. And this is a 2-year program. And throughout those 2 years, you will take approximately 6 courses for 24 credits, because all of the physics and astro courses are 4-credit classes. And so 4 of those courses will happen in the first year, and 2 of them will happen in the second year. So the first year is more coursework heavy, and the second year is less coursework and more research heavy. There are two kind of main pathways that one can take. You could take a physics track or an astro track. So if you wanted to take the physics track, you could take classes in the CUNY physics graduate department. So things like mechanics, electricity and magnetism, statistical mechanics, quantum mechanics. We've had students take, I think, pretty much all of those in our program. And so those, if you want to get really like solidify your background in physics, or you think you might want to apply to a physics PhD program or a joint astronomy and physics PhD program, these would give you a really good base for that. Also, if you have maybe some grades that you want to improve from your undergrad, like if something happened during the semester when you took E&M and it didn't go too great, and you want to prove that you can do a good job of it, maybe taking E&M would be good for in grad school, possibly. Or maybe you're like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I want to take astronomy classes, and that's fine too. So right now, for example, we have a star and planet formation class. Last fall, we had a galaxies class. This coming fall, we're going to have a stars class, and I think a compact objects class after that. So there's always an astronomy option that you can also take. We've also had like machine learning in astrophysics. Kind of, it depends on whatever somebody wants to teach. And so I can't promise that a specific class will be offered in any given time. But we also definitely take recommendations. And so if people all want some kind of class, we can try and find someone to teach it. And so you can also mix and match between these tracks. If you want to take some, want to take E&M, but also galaxies, that's fine. You don't have to like choose a track and stick to it. But there's lots of options for you for either physics or astro. There are 2 required courses that everyone has to take in their first year. So in the fall, everyone takes computational methods, and in the spring, everyone takes radiative processes. And so those 2 are required, and the other 4 courses that folks take are elective, and you can do what you want. And you could also possibly take classes in other departments. For example, one of our students who wants to go into a data science career took some courses in the data science master's program department. And so that is definitely also fine. And I think there's a sample course schedule on our website, at least the slide says there is. And so you could go there and look for it. All right. The other main component of the requirements for the degree are research. So everyone has a research mentor and does a research project, and you will write a master's thesis. And so that comprises 6 credits in the second year, 3 in the fall and 3 in the spring. And so the advisors are usually CUNY Astro faculty and also staff at the Flatiron CCA, although actually some folks have advisors at the American Museum of Natural History as well. And so really kind of anyone in the New York area can be fair game for an advisor, as long as there's some CUNY person involved in some way. That's totally fine, or as long as they're affiliated with CUNY in some way. Students are paired with research mentors after they're accepted to the program. So students begin the program in August, and then in September and October, we work on research pairing. And so people with projects will present to the students, and the students can have a few weeks to kind of get to know people, go to some group meetings, and decide who they want their mentor to be. And then we match people. And so you don't need to find an advisor before you apply. You're certainly welcome to write people and ask them if they're going to take any students if you are interested in that. But that's certainly not required. You don't need to have somebody set up ahead of time before you apply who promises to sponsor you or that kind of thing. All right, let's talk about money. So thanks to the generosity of the Simons Foundation, we are able to offer full financial support for our master's students. In more detail, this gets a full, you get full tuition paid for. You have a $30,000 stipend for each academic year and an additional summer salary stipend of $6,000 each summer. You can also have a supplement for health insurance, depending on how one gets health insurance. We're not able to offer the Graduate Center PhD student health insurance because that is only for PhD students for some bureaucratic reason that I cannot comprehend. And so a lot of our students have bought health insurance on the marketplace, and we give them the amount of money that they pay in health insurance as another supplementary stipend. We also offer money for a relocation allowance. If you do not live in New York City and you need to move to New York City, we will give you some money to help you with that. We fund every student to go to 2 scientific conferences. There's a research supply stipend as well. We give every student a laptop or some equivalent tech device so that they can do their work. And there's some other perks too. There's some other, I don't know, we buy hoodies. All the students have hoodies, a couple other things that we get. So we have money that we are happy to hand our students and make sure that our students feel supported and don't have to worry about like getting an extra job or being financially insecure. I mean, this is New York City. This amount of money is not awesome for housing in New York City and living, but it is pretty comparable to what the PhD students get, and it can be done. And so, and there's a good community of folks. If you ever need support, there's a lot of folks to rely on. Okay, so how do you apply? Our application deadline is 1 month from today, April 15th. Also do your taxes. And so you have to apply on the CUNY Graduate Center portal. You can, that link there will take you to the application website. In general, you need to write a statement of purpose and have some 3 recommendation letters. If you applied to the physics PhD program at CUNY or any other program at CUNY, you do need to actually make a new account in the portal to apply to the astrophysics program. They don't talk to each other at all. And actually, I think it doesn't let you use an existing account to apply to another program. But if you just make a new account, just put a 1 after your username or something, then you'll have to start fresh, but you can just upload whatever things you have into that. And so yeah, I think that is all that is required. On our website, there's also some guidelines for what to put in your statement of purpose. And so if you are wondering what to write, you could check that out. There's also some guidelines for recommenders. So if you want to share that with the people who write you letters of recommendation and say, hey, this is the kind of information they're looking for, maybe your letter writers will listen to you and make sure to put that in your letter. Hopefully they do. Okay, so that is the end of my spiel. Again, there's our website. Here are some pictures of our awesome students. There's one missing because I think she was abroad at the time. But in general, here's what we look like. These are the folks who would be your peers in the program for you to join us. And we would love to hear your questions. And so if you would like to put them in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I'm going to keep sharing my screen. And so I can't actually help with calling on people, but I will mute myself. So Charles and Allie, my faculty partners, are going to work on answering questions out loud, and Emily can answer some in the chat as well. But I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let people ask questions about the program. Also remember our Theo, the student who's in cohort 1 right now, is also here. So if you have questions for a student, you want a student perspective, feel free to direct any questions at him.
I had a question about students who go on to do PhD work, and how it works with like entering a different program, having gone through a master's. I've only ever spoken to people who have done a master's and PhD in the same school or same course. So would it like shorten the length of like the PhD course that you would then go on to, having gone through a master's like this?
Allie, do you have information on that? I can give what limited information I have on that question.
Yeah, I was just thinking my answer would be it depends on the program and whether courses would transfer. I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
Pretty much. Each program for PhD differs in different ways. So if there were a PhD program, for example, in Europe and some places in the United States where coursework is not even required, then there's no slowdown. There may even be an acceleration of what you've done. The 2 years that you spend, for example, in a master's program would just benefit you and allow you to write your thesis faster, and you can finish. Other PhD programs don't count coursework that have existed in previous programs that you've attended, which means that you would have to take their classes over again, which might not be too hard if you've already taken some classes that matter, right? Our 2 required courses are relatively basic compared with the dozen or so courses that many PhD programs require their students to take. So you won't suffer at all from getting that extra stuff. You may change the amount of time overall that your research requires because now that you're experienced in research work, you may be able to jump into a thesis faster than some of the other first-year students. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Just really quick.
I have something to add. Oh, sorry, Emily. I have something to add. So if somebody does the courses and then decides to stay at CUNY for a PhD, then obviously the courses would count because they were already taken at CUNY. And we're working on making agreements with other universities. So far, we have one with NYU only, but I've worked with the NYU Physics and Astronomy department to see how our classes match up. And we've agreed that some classes wouldn't need to be repeated if someone from our program went into their program for a PhD. For example, StatMech, I think, matched exactly. And so even though they require StatMech, it would count. So I'm working on doing that with more programs, but I've only done NYU so far.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jillian. Thank you everyone for answering the questions. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Emily December. I'm the college assistant for the astrophysics program at the Graduate Center. So I'm doing housekeeping in terms of answering questions if I can in the chat. And in this case, I can't. So I have 2 questions in the queue. The first one is from Emmanuel Rivera. He says he apologizes for joining so shortly. So as a student with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, I would like to enter the astronomy doctorate program, or in this case, a master's program. I've heard about the bridge program, but how could I apply for a remote opportunity on that?
I guess maybe to clarify, Emmanuel, do you mean an online program? If you could apply to this program and be part of it remotely, to which the answer would be no, it's all in person, or were you asking something a little bit different? If you're still here.
Yes, hi, sorry.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, yeah, both of those things. I was wondering about the bridge program in and of itself. I've heard about it before, but I wasn't sure how the process for applying, but now I completed my degree now. So now that I have a bachelor's, I guess I'm not sure if it would be easier to directly apply. Yeah, so I also wanted to know if there was a remote opportunity, but yeah, you answered my question on that. But,
okay, and yeah, if you have a background in engineering, if that's what your bachelor's in, you're certainly qualified to apply. Because generally you take the same physics classes.
Yeah, I'm not international. I'm in Puerto Rico, but I guess it's a little different anyway. It's more engineering based. But yeah, so how would I go about applying for I guess it would be the master's program, right? Bridge master's.
Yep, if you go to the link that's up on the screen right now, and Emily also placed it into the chat, it'll take you right there. So www.gc.cuny.edu/astrophysics, and right at the top, you'll see a link to apply.
Thanks. And then let's say my coursework in astronomy, right, is non-existent, then I would have to basically start from scratch on that side, right?
Well, it's not so much scratch. Is this the Emmanuel that I know, by the way? You are that Emmanuel?
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, since you don't have your camera on, I couldn't tell that you were the one that we've met before in the past. You were just in New York. Yeah, there you go. Hey, how's it going? Yes. Yeah, the starting all over is kind of a not exactly the right way I would put it. You're taking brand new courses that you would not have taken as an undergraduate, even if you were an astronomy or an astrophysics major most of the time. Very few undergraduates, for example, take radiative processes until their senior year at the earliest. And so if you're taking a class like that or computational methods in astrophysics, it's not that you'll be behind any of the incoming graduate students in your coursework. So it's just a matter of the experience you might have with the research activity or the cultural phenomenon that is astronomy, as opposed to the cultural phenomenon that is mechanical engineering. So you shouldn't worry about like being behind, especially in this program. This is a matter of catching up, not so much like because you're behind, but because you have different experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So let's say, so it's basically, I wouldn't have to get a second bachelor's, right? But I'm trying to kind of figure out in astronomy.
Correct. Yeah, Emmanuel, you're breaking up a little bit in your signal, but let me just confirm if what you're asking was you don't need to get another bachelor's degree. Correct. You do not need another bachelor's degree in astronomy or physics to apply to this master's program.
Okay. Thank you. I'll watch. You guys have the recording for later? Or are you going to upload it?
Yes, I have the recording right now going on, and we'll upload it shortly after. Jose, I see your hand, but there's several people in the queue, but I'll get to you, okay? You're fourth in the queue. The second person is Kiara Davis. I'm not too sure about pronouns here today. How are we allowed to take an extra course or more than 30 credits?
The virtual open house for masters.
I'll
Um,
answer that one.
I don't know the answer to that, actually.
I can answer it. You are not encouraged to take an extra course because the load as it is I think kind of intense. Theo can chime in if you want and tell us if you think you would want to take another class right now on top of the classes that you're already taking. There was a case last semester where the student who took some data science classes, they were 3 credits instead of 4, and he actually took 2 instead of 1 because of that. And so I allowed it, and he'll end up with more than 30 credits, but it was a very special situation tailored for him. And I'm really glad to tailor situations and do things like that, but in general, it's not recommended.
Yeah, I'll add to that a little bit. So, especially in the first year, it's going to be very difficult to do more than 2 courses, especially when you factor in that you're also doing research as well. And so the courses themselves also take up some time. So you also have to consider that you have coursework to do as well as homework, and then research on top of that. So, I mean, if you feel like you can breeze through it, then maybe, but I would not recommend taking more than 2 courses in a given semester at this point.
Okay, I have another question in the queue. Let me scroll up. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Matthew Stafford. I believe one of the slides indicated that students will be supported in going to 2 conferences. would this be in the first and second year? Will students have the opportunity to work on research projects in both years?
You know, Ali, I think you and I should just like take turns or something, like so we know who to answer instead of pausing in deference to
like,
the other, because you
all right,
know.
why don't you take this one and I'll take the next one?
Okay. My understanding is, first of all, absolutely, yes, you will have research opportunities for both years. Whether you do the same project for 2 full years or 2 different projects, 1 per year, depends on your conversation with your advisor. And in terms of the travel, yes, you expect probably to go to 1 conference 1 year and 1 conference the second year, but it's relatively flexible. If, for example, you have not,
No,
I'm wrong.
you're wrong.
Hey, no attention to what I just said.
Because students go to conferences to present their research, it's in general, the conferences will probably happen in their second year. And also that's when they're taking less courses, and so it would be less disruptive if it's during the school year. Although a few are going to one during the summer this year, so it's not quite their second year. And there's definitely always some exceptions, but in general, students go to the winter AAS meeting in their second year, and then they're funded to go to one other conference of their choice, but probably also in the second year.
Thank you for the correction, Jillian. I thought maybe
Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
and
no, you should. You should.
wrong.
Yeah. Because some students, like you said, I don't know yet whether a large number of students will likely have finished enough research to present it, like at the summer AAS after their first year. But you are right, 100%.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I noticed that there's a hand raised. There's several people in the queue, but I will get to you shortly, okay, in the chat. As for the next person in line, I'm gonna send it over to Jose Saucedo. Thank you.
Hello, y'all. I'm currently a graduating undergrad from UT Austin. I'm getting my degree in astronomy. One of the things that I've been really interested in my research is cosmology large-scale structure. I was wondering if any of you have some insight on that, since I actually have been using some machine learning algorithms. So I was wondering what that research looks like, if you know of any. As I am currently in the PhD seeing I applied, but then you know how it is. It's a tricky little thing. So I'm also looking into master's programs, and I just want to know a little bit more of what y'all's research looks like, since I feel like that's sort of where I want to go to. So yeah.
Hi, Jose, and congrats on finishing up at UT. That's awesome. I think probably the best way to answer the question is to look at the CUNY Astro website. And so that's the main link that's still on the screen, the gc.cuny.edu astrophysics. It will give you information about all of the different research projects that are going on at CUNY Astro. Pretty much what you described. There's going to be somebody, chances are, be it at, CUNY Grad Center faculty, CUNY Astro, the CCA, or American Museum of Natural History, or even Columbia or NYU, that is working on what you described. If it's helpful, we could all tell you very briefly about what our research interests are, but I think it might be more useful for you to just really go to the site and take a look at what's going on. And specifically, so you said large scale structure formation, cosmological simulations, those kinds of things. A specific person doesn't come to mind, so I'll throw it to Jillian or Charles if somebody immediately came to mind when Jose brought up those topics.
Ari, probably, right?
Ari Mahler?
Yeah.
Yeah, and his bio is on the webpage, so you can also reach out to, and that's actually recommended when you're applying to grad school. Sometimes you might think it's scary to email a professor. It's not. They'll appreciate it. They will respond. Tell them what you're interested in and maybe think of some project ideas together. That's really the best way, email a few different people.
Also, the Flatiron CCA has a cosmology group and a machine learning group. And so outside of CUNY, there are definitely people affiliated with the program who one could join a research group.
Correct. And I believe Dr. Ari Mahler, who Charles just mentioned, is part of those teams at the CCA. And I can type his name into the chat.
Yeah, don't forget Vivi Aquaviva, who won a AAS award for her new textbook on machine learning and astrophysics.
Excellent point.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for answering those questions. I see a hand raised. Andreas, you can go next, and then I'll continue on with getting more questions from the queue. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I was curious maybe to get some student perspective on advisor selection, kind of the process that went into that. Is it all based on just like meeting in person, and or is there some sort of process behind there, especially when it comes to like what interest a student has in terms of research focus or specific research questions? I'd love to know more.
Sure. So for my cohort at least, so the way it starts is you have people who have a research project that they want someone to work on. You'll essentially have like a group meeting where it's like your cohort and then like all the people who are also pitching projects, and each person will come up, present the potential research that they'd like you to get involved in. And then you can then talk to these people later on and say, hey, okay, like, is it just limited to this? Is there like a way we can expand this? Or like, okay, maybe I have a different idea. Are you okay with that? If people if everyone makes a presentation and then you're like, okay, and maybe not so much. There are also other people around the CCA and even the Museum of Natural History that you can talk to and say, hey, like, are you taking students? If so, like, I have an idea, or like, do you have an idea about something that we can work on? But it's not just limited to the people who do the pitches, but you can kind of shop around to see, okay, is there someone here who is doing work that I'm interested in? And like, you get to interview them, you get to talk to them. They also interview you and figure out, okay, like, are you interested in this or not? And if not, I think other people can like suggest or make suggestions, say, hey, this person is working on this kind of thing that's more your speed. Maybe talk to them, and then you basically do that. And then I believe you get a few weeks, you make decisions. So you say, okay, I'm interested in these people. And then I guess the staff kind of works out like they kind of work out like who's doing research with who at that point. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that was great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we're going to pass it on. I see your hand, Sean. I will get to you shortly. We have questions in the queue first, okay? I believe I saw earlier Charisse Fraser. They ask what physics classes are excuse me, are required to apply for this master's program. It has been a while since I've earned my bachelor's, but it was in biochemistry and I didn't take many physics classes. I know that this question came up last year as well, but if one of the professors or the director can help answer this question as to what physics classes they should have before applying. Thank you.
Sure, I can comment on that. Ideally, you would have at least a couple of classes that are sort of beyond the 200 level. So for example, kind of the standard 3, or I should say standard 4 would be mechanics, E&M. I hesitated to say quantum because not all schools offer it, but certainly that would qualify if your school does offer it, and thermo and stat mech, which sometimes are separate courses, but typically undergrad. So ideally having, a couple of those would, really be the best preparation. With a biochem bachelor's, if you didn't take any of those physics courses, it probably would be a bit of a stretch. Can I say more about it, or did that answer the question?
Yeah. So the classes that I took, because I was a physics minor, I took biophysics and I took modern physics. So I don't, I know like I knew someone that did a physics program, but he had to take those classes before. So I was just like making sure like I should have this under my belt before I apply.
I'll mention briefly, my wife and my youngest child is a biomedical engineer and also has taken biophysics and modern physics, and that's the extent of it. If your curriculum is the same as that curriculum, which I presume, they have commonalities nationwide, then you would be ready to jump into quantum
Okay.
at that point. You'd be ready to take quantum. That jives then with what Professor Sheffield is.
Thank you.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, Charles. Could you hear everything, Charisse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we're going to pass it on to Sean, and then we'll go back to the chat. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm really excited to apply for this cycle this year. And I actually know Imani from the course. He was a part of the group that I worked in, and so I haven't heard from him, but but I know that that was an option, and I'm assuming it's going well. And so. But my question is the deadline for the grad program is April 15th, which is a lot later than most masters and PhD programs. And so I wanted to know kind of what the timeline was, and hearing back, after that submission on past the deadline, what the timeline is after that.
Hi, Sean. The turnaround time is actually pretty quick after the 15th. You can probably expect to be notified if you were selected for an interview as soon as, well, I don't want to say as soon as, I'd say by the beginning of May. So it's probably, it's a fast turnaround on our end because we specifically have the deadline when we do. So if you apply to, PhD programs and don't get into any, our option is still open for you. So we also appreciate that you need to know quickly. So I'd say by, early May at the latest, you'll know if you received an interview or not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, thank you so much, Ali. I have a question from the queue, and I have also several questions as well from the queue. So they're going to be coming in fast. We have from Daryush Parsi. If I mispronounced it, I'm really sorry. Hello, I live in Huntington, New York. I've recently completed the coursework for a master's in data science at the University of Texas at Dallas, but I don't have a background in math, astronomy, or physics. My career was in investment management. Should I take STEM undergraduate courses at CUNY to prepare for the master's in astrophysics? Which ones in particular? I want to be well prepared so I'm not stumbling from the beginning.
That's kind of a cool question. It's kind of a cool background too, Darius. When you talk about investment management, did you do like quant stuff, rocket science, or were you more involved in the client side of things?
I was doing a mixture of both fundamental analysis and quant stuff, like regression analysis, pair trading, algorithmic trading,
Okay.
using largely Python. Yeah.
Nice. So actually, your coding experience and statistical analysis experience jibes really well with a number of important astrophysical questions. So on the one hand, your background in the work that you did over the years, I presume you did it for at least a year or so in life, maybe.
Yeah, my career is 25 years long. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that as well as the back of your hand. Boy, I wish that when I started graduate school, I had known some of that linear regression analysis type stuff. That would have been really helpful for some of the stuff I was trying to do. Generally speaking, you are well prepared. You will need to bone up on some of the jargon that we use, right, in math and physics when you do specific things. The mathematical techniques you should be fine with, but I think some courses might be useful. I just don't know at the moment exactly which ones, right? Because if you join the program after all the admissions process and everything, understanding what you would need would be helpful, or maybe giving you feedback on what you can do to prepare yourself further, I think. And I'm not qualified enough at this moment, just with this question and answer session, to be able to tell you definitively. But I will say that your background gives you some tools which will give you a real good position to preparing for a program like ours.
Very good. Okay. I mean, I took physics and math classes in college, but this was decades ago. So I need
Right.
to.
Right. So it would be some sort of updating that would be probably helpful to you. But you're missing, what you're missing is probably not like critical or fatal or anything like that in your efforts to get higher education in astrophysics.
Yes.
Can I
Thank you.
add something though? I can be more specific. Because our courses in the CUNY master's program are graduate level and physics courses. In general, grad level physics courses assume people have an undergraduate physics background, and they've taken the classes that Ali mentioned earlier.
Yes.
We definitely don't require that everyone has exactly that background or has taken every one of those classes. But to have none of those classes is probably a bit of a stretch to assume that one would be successful in a graduate physics course. And so I think going back and taking some intermediate level physics classes would be very helpful to be prepared.
Right. I'll just go through the application process for undergraduate courses or non-matriculating student at CUNY.
I think so. I'm not actually sure. Maybe Charles knows.
There is a path by which you do that. You would find it, instead of through the CUNY Graduate Center, through one of the undergraduate colleges. Yeah. Each school is different. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charles and Jillian, for answering. We have someone from the chat. We have Ahmed. Hi, thank you for the information. I grew up in France and don't have an American degree. I have a French bachelor's degree in physics. Do I need to take the TOEFL or TOEFL test to show my English level in my application?
Nope.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as I know, the answer is no.
Thank you so much, Ali and Jillian, for answering that question. They didn't directly ask this question, but I feel like this is a very important thing to talk about for everyone here. Olivia Pare, if I mispronounced it, I'm so sorry. She asked, where do we stay? Do we have to have roommates? Should we start looking for apartments? I guess they said, I heard that housing was limited. And I answered their question by saying, great question, Olivia. We'll help assist with finding housing. We have resources for this. I know that for cohort 2, for example, we have at least 2 students that were coming from across from the West Coast to the East Coast. And before they started the program, we were able to start looking for housing. They were also able to look on their own because that's what they preferred. But if you do need assistance, of course, Jillian and I will definitely be working together to help you find housing. But Jillian, do you want to explain further on this point?
Yeah, it's different for everybody. The Graduate Center does have dorms, but the waiting list is more than 2 years long, which is very unhelpful for a 2-year master's program. And so our students cannot stay in the dorms. I mean, they're eligible to, but they basically just can't. But yeah, we'll help people find whatever works best for them.
Yes, thank you so much, Jillian, for helping me. We have Emmanuel Rivera. Are there any plans for astroengineering applied astrophysics program in the future? And just to clarify, there is no online available master's degree. And currently, yes, we don't have an online master's degree. I know that part, but I need help with the other part of the question.
I'm not aware of any plans to extend it to, was it aerospace engineering that you said, Emily, the question was specifically about?
Astro engineering or applied astrophysics.
There is no such
Astro-
program.
Right. And I'm not sure what exactly you mean by applied astrophysics, but yeah, the blanket master's is going to be astrophysics.
Right. Sorry. What I meant specifically, I was driving, so I didn't really think
No
about
worries.
typing. What I mean is sort of just like space engineering and like space systems engineering, or because I know that's kind of different from just astronomy and astrophysics, but since they're, you know, in the same circles of study, I figured maybe there were plans for that sort of degree in the future, or programs or research.
No, I think if that was your ultimate goal, you know, potentially you could get some, you know, background experience with the master's that might help you be more qualified for a position. But no, it's specifically not really designed to provide you with expertise that you would need for that. Again, it could give you more of kind of a more general background for applied astrophysics.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Sure, you're welcome.
Okay, I actually have a combination of two questions from two different people because they're similar in question. One part of the question from Chris Tian, I'm so sorry, but Chris, excuse me, they said, does the stipend require us to TA? If not, are students allowed to do, or students usually TA? And I wrote back to them stating, you're not required to TA. The focus is more on taking courses and doing research. And then the next part of the question from Charisse, how likely is it that students are able to work while completing their master's? I'm currently teaching physics and biology at CUNY. Would I be able to continue to do so? Thank you.
My gut instinct is no, you're just not going to have time. I feel like this almost might be a better question for Theo, in a similar vein to when we punted it to you before, Theo, about taking extra classes. You know, I just don't think you would have time. And, you know, the stipend is meant to, you know, hopefully obviate the need to have any external work outside of your, you know, the master's program.
Yeah,
I just honestly, you know, yeah, go ahead,
no, no.
Theo.
And I was gonna say, just to follow up, yeah, you're definitely gonna have a lot of work in terms of coursework and research and things like that, that it would be almost impossible to do all those things well. So like you're bound to drop one of them, or like just not give them the needed attention. So TAing is not recommended. I personally wouldn't do it. Like as it is now, like we have a ton of work where it's like you have to figure out homeworks and how to do your research, and that takes up a good deal of time by itself. So yeah, definitely would not recommend TAing or an additional job on top of it.
Thank you so much, Ali and Theo. Ali, do you have another point? Yes.
I was just going to reiterate, it's a very intense program in that it's only 2 years. So Theo, thank you for kind of confirming that even if you wanted to, you're probably just not going to have the time if you want to, you know, get out what you put into the program.
Yes, thank you so much, Theo and Ali, once again. Also, as a side note, like in addition to all that research and intensive homeworks and things like that, you also might have commutes. You know, commuting might be a little bit difficult in New York City, you might have an hour-long commute. Also like learning how to de-stress and take care of yourself personally is you have to learn how to balance it. And I'm glad that Theo is actually here to explain from a student's perspective while in the program, explaining the stipulations and things like that. So thank you again. Right now we have Andreas, and then we have 3 more questions in the chat. So thank you.
Hi, everyone, again. I am curious kind of what sort of support do students who are like seeking to go on to a PhD following this master's program? Is there any sort of particular element of this program that like helps getting into a PhD, moving on straight after receiving the master's from here? Is there any sort of support there? Or what does that look like aside from just being ready and having research done?
I can answer that one. This last summer, a CUNY physics PhD student and I co-ran like a grad application boot camp over the course of the summer. So once a week we met and talked about both grad applications and fellowship applications. Like the NSF fellowship is the one that we kind of tailored it to, but can be used for many. So there were definitely a lot of sessions on like writing a statement of purpose, and we went over and edited them as a group a lot. And we also talked about just like where to apply and how to decide, and how to email a professor and ask if they're taking people, because that's awkward, and that kind of thing. And so yes, there is preparation for that. It's optional. Not everyone needs to attend it, but everyone who wants a great application for a PhD program is welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, I just got a note that we are now in the 6 o'clock hour. So we have at least 2 more questions and then we're gonna close it out. And of course, we have our email at astrophysics@gc.cuny.edu. So if you have any further questions, you're more than welcome to email us anytime, and we will definitely address it in the time that we received it. Really quickly, wow, there's a lot. I think this was already answered, but I believe Jessica was asking, is there any work towards the degree completed during the summer? I would imagine working towards a research project, or will we be able to work intern elsewhere during the summer?
The summer is for focusing on your research project. So you get an additional stipend over the summer, and that is to work on the research project that you and your mentor are doing. And so you would only go somewhere else if that was part of your plan with your research mentor.
Okay, thank you so much, Jillian, for answering that question. And the final question, so really quick one. Olivia asks, on the application, and asks for a SSN for financial support. I know the program is fully funded. Do I have to put it down?
Are you asking basically for security reasons, Olivia, that you would rather not disseminate your social security number much if you can avoid it?
Yeah, pretty much, because
Okay.
we've already had our identity stolen once this year.
Oh no.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that sucks. I think for the application purposes, I don't know if they need the whole number on it. Jillian, if Olivia were to just to put the last 4 digits or something on the application, like XXX, all the others,
I don't
would that
know.
be enough?
It's certainly fine for me. I don't need your social security number for any purpose. And so if you like filled in all 9s or something, I don't know, like it's whatever it lets, if it lets you do something else, then that's welcome. If you're admitted to the program, you do need to provide a social security number for
Being paid, yeah.
pay you. But for just the application, if it lets you put in something imaginary, I personally do not have a problem with it. I do not know how CUNY as a whole feels about that. I cannot promise what that will be like, but it will not, I will not stop an application from going through if it has a fake number. In fact, I don't think I can see the social security numbers in the portal when I look at them. That would be weird if I could, actually. I don't believe I can see them. So I don't think I would even know.
Yeah, Jillian, you don't see the
No, I
SSN.
can't see them. So I wouldn't know. So if CUNY if the portal lets you do something imaginary, then I'm okay with it. But that's up to you.
Okay, because like I was answering all the questions and stuff, and it's like it would ask for the social security number, but I was able to like just go past it without actually entering anything.
Awesome.
I just wanted to make sure.
It will not prevent you from being admitted to the program.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we take sensitive information very seriously, and we have multiple protections levels to ensure that your information is secure.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right, that concludes the chat questions. That concludes the questions overall. I guess we just want to extend our gratitude to everyone for attending today. Like we stated earlier, it is being recorded, so it will be posted shortly. We also have social media accounts. We have us on Instagram, as well as now what was formerly Twitter, now X. So it's at CUNY GC Astro. So if you Google that, it will pop up. You can check us out on Instagram. You can check us out on X. And if you have any further questions, you can forward them to astrophysics@gc.cunycuny.edu. Okay? So thank you again for attending. Thank you so much to Professors Charles and Ali and Director Jillian.
And
Have a
student
great
Theo.
day.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
Theo
you.
as well. Thank you so much from cohort 2. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jillian. Charles.
Thank you. Look
Thank you.
forward
Thank
to
you,
all the
everyone.
applications.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Emily.
good luck,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great
Bye,
weekend.
everyone. Thank you.